What if you could help others to find the power to heal themselves? Physically, emotionally, and spiritually.
When I started teaching my classes, it was in 2002, and I was just doing the past life regressions and contacting the subconscious part. But then as the time went on and we found how powerful this was and what we could do with it, a lot of the students began saying, you know, advanced past life regression doesn't really tell what it's all about. This is so much more than that. We think you should change the name. So it was a few years ago we decided to change the name to Quantum Healing Hypnosis Technique. And this is the healing technique that we've now been teaching it, well, since 2002, that's 12 years.
What if you could time travel with them? Visit mythical places or angelic realms, other worlds, other galaxies. Help others to speak to their higher selves. You can. Dolores has taught thousands of people from across the world how to use QHHT, and now you can learn her method by going directly to dolorescannon.com. And don't forget to mention the discount code MORETALKS.
Established over 100 years ago, Watkins Books is one of the world's oldest and leading independent bookshops specializing in esoterica. We have the widest selection of esoteric books in the UK, and our friendly and knowledgeable staff are here to assist you in a unique ambience of our shop. So come and visit us in the heart of London as we're open every day.
Does your book, film, resource, product, or business change people's lives for the better? Hi, I'm Jackie Lappin, founder of Conscious Media Relations, a unique boutique PR firm that helps you connect with your mind, body, spirit, and conscious lifestyle audience in a big way. We reach 3,500 specialty media and all the key mainstream outlets in the United States. I invite you to explore our radio media tour that connects to 2,600 personal growth radio shows. There is just nothing else like it. Come check out our website and read our rave reviews.
The comments and views expressed on The More Show are those of the people that make them and do not necessarily reflect the view of Kevin Moore, The More Show, or this radio station and its affiliate or sponsors. This show is for entertainment purposes only.
Broadcasting from the UK and across the world online, you're now watching the UK's only alternative late night talk show, and I'm your host Kevin Moore. For the next hour, I'll be covering subjects that will open up your mind and provide you with information you may have never heard before. On today's show, I'm joined with Maria Wheatley, who is a second-generation dowser and a leading authority on the geodetic systems of Earth energies. Now, she was taught how to decode and divine the land by her late father, Dennis Wheatley, who was considered to be one of the UK's top Master Dowsers. Now, she is an accomplished author of books on sacred sites and dowsing, and has researched the esoteric design canons of prehistoric sites, Druid ceremonial enclosures, and the Knights Templar for many years. Maria has lectured and given workshops in America and Europe, and has also appeared on the History Channel. In the late 1980s, Maria studied astrology and tarot, and during the 1990s turned her attention to hypnotherapy, past life regression, and reflexology. She has taught complementary medicine for Swindon College for over 15 years. Maria Wheatley, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
It's great to have you on. It really is lovely to have you on, and I've find your work to be quite interesting. Actually, you cover quite a lot of stuff. But let's just ask you the first question, as in, what do you cover? What is your purpose? What do you do?
Well, what I do is I do dowsing of ancient sites, and I research ancient sites such as Stonehenge, Avebury, and places like Malta. And I'm off to Sardinia on Tuesday, looking at the megalithic culture over there, which was a water cult. And I also do past life regression. I've been, practicing past life regression since about 1996. And I also do astrology, and I teach tarot, and I run an esoteric college, which is soon to be online, which is going to be esotericcollege.com. So I suppose I cover the esoteric and the practical sides of dowsing, from looking for underground water to leys, interpreting people's homes, and I can do house clearing as well. So very diverse, really.
Oh, right. Well, you've answered the question then. What purpose does that serve in the moment now? And that serves quite a bit there. That serves quite a bit, actually. Wow, okay. Now, all this came from your father, though, wasn't it? Your father must have been the influence for you.
Yes, I mean, I am a second generation dowser, and I got taught by him and Chinese geomants, actually, because I've also studied feng shui. I've kind of made it quite Celtic, though, in a way. And I've studied with European Master Dowsers as well. So I kind of look for the Western ideas and the Eastern ideas and kind of join them together in a unification of all different ideas to do with the earth and the earth spirit and the earth force.
Right, and again, just as going back to your father, just because we've got his book on the screen now, and this is a book that's published by Ozark Mountain Publishing, or they have the rights for it, shall I say? Just tell us about your dad in the sense of he was a master dowser, but what else? What other interests did he have as well? Was it just mainly this?
Well, dowsing was a great interest of his, because he thought that a pendulum, for example, which could be anything like literally a nut on the end of a piece of string, or a more fancy like crystal pendulum, that had more intelligence than the great supercomputers in the world, because you can get information gleaned from pendulum dowsing. So dowsing was, to him, very important. And it really does open up different realms as well, I think, dowsing. It can just be on a practical level, or it can be on a very deep spiritual level, where you could communicate to a spirit or to a house, for example.
Okay. And right. Okay. Now you've been very busy. I mean, you've got this. You may have more than 5 books, but I've traced 5 books so far that I think that I know belong to yourself as the author. And that they're kind of all in the same areas in some respects, except for the elongated skull of Stonehenge. Let's get into the megalithic structures to begin with, because I think that's where a lot of your work resides in. Obviously, your main research has been into UK megalithic structures. What is different with the UK structures compared to the ones in other places of the world?
Well, each country has its own unique sites. If you go to Malta, for example, I was there last month. They're quintessentially Maltese, and same with the Sardinian sites. Or if you go to Carnac in France, which is a wonderful place to douse. But when it comes to the sites in the UK, they seem to be very unique. We have Stonehenge. There's no other place like Stonehenge. We have Avebury, which is the largest stone circle in the world known to date, and lots of other sites besides, like Stanton Drew, which is the second largest stone circle in the UK. So we kind of focused on a circular motif, and we know that people from all over the world came to these sites because there's been beads from Egypt found, for example. So I think the UK was like a spiritual capital of the ancient world. But we must look at the wider whole. If we look at the wider whole and we look at all of the other sites that are equally as unique in their own right, it seems that around about 5,000 years ago, if not earlier, more like sort of 8,000 years ago, there was a global understanding of these energy lines and systems, and they were marked across the world by probably a global priesthood to energies in the ground and to star patterns and constellations above, and the sun and the moon as well. It was a unique time in mankind's history.
And what happened to wipe that knowledge out? Why is there no records or no knowledge of what these were for and how they were built and who built them?
There's no knowledge of it because, especially in the UK, because we were a bardic race, we transferred our information and our knowledge orally, which was recorded by Caesar. So the information was lost. It could be somewhere like in the Vatican. It could be in other places, besides, because there were strange artifacts that have gone missing in the Stonehenge environs. What happened around 1500 BC was a huge climate change. So it went from being a kind of much warmer Mediterranean style weather in the UK to what's called the sub-Atlantic system, which we have now, which is a lot of rain and wind. So they were facing, and this, I find this very interesting, that our ancient ancestors that built Stonehenge are facing the same problems as we do today, and that's climate change.
Yes, it's like it's a cycle, isn't it? I mean, but it still doesn't. We still are no wiser, are we, as to where that this lost knowledge has gone and why it's disappeared, and we are, basing judgment on our best judgment for people like yourselves that are prepared to put their name out there and go against mainstream in a sense and look at these monuments from an alternative perspective. But there still is no, there's nothing to say, well, this is definitively how it was done or what it was for. This is just would you say these are your theories and other people's theories?
Well, they are. They're more than theories, I think, because, you can see that the sun and the moon were integrated into cycles. You can test for Earth energies. So we know that they integrated terrestrial and celestial forces. We just don't know why they were doing that. That's a really big question.
And how they moved them as well. I mean, how were these built?
Yes, the movements of the stones, that's always been an enigmatic mystery. How are they moved? I've noticed over the past 20 years that you get different sort of ideas that become fashionable. And one of the ideas at the moment is sound technology. I'm sure that all these different kind of ideas can be explored to, find out one day how they were actually moved. Because moving stone to our ancient ancestors wasn't a problem because they were moving stone all around the world. We're looking at it to be the problem. So clearly they moved over, all in all, for Avebury Henge alone, probably about 750 large stones.
Yeah, and how did they do that? How? We don't know, do we?
We don't know.
No, and that is some lost knowledge there that, it sort of points towards a civilization that was more advanced in other ways than we are now. And I wonder what knowledge they had and the way that they went on in present moment, how they acted to each other, what it was like, we're not. I mean, these are questions we can't answer, I know, but I suppose by looking into this, it's trying to bring lost knowledge into the present moment. I suppose that's what it's a good part of this research is, because otherwise, I suppose this type of research can get a bit. Some people may say, well, what difference is it making in your life now?
I think it does make a difference. If we can understand our past, we can think about how people lived then and and compare it to how we're living now, and hopefully get the best of both worlds, because our ancient ancestors were connected to the earth far more than what we are today. So that's one kind of lesson that we could learn from our ancient ancestors. They were expert astronomers, mathematicians, and geomancers. So they were a very advanced civilization that was living in the UK and all across Europe, actually. And I think they were a united people at one point, especially in the Neolithic period of around 3000 BC to about 1500 BC. I think there was probably a global priesthood because a lot of monuments are very, very similar from India to stone circles in India, for example, to the standing rows of France, to the standing rows of Dartmoor. There is a similar connection between these sites.
Yes, absolutely, and I do agree with you what you've just said there as well. I just wanted you to say that really, and just for us to to come to that point together in a sense. What could we look at? Well, I suppose strange signals recorded. Tell us about some strange signals that have been measured in some of these megalithic UK sites.
There are a lot of signals coming out of the ground. It seems since around 2010, for example, that the Earth force, because if we look at Gaia and these Earth energies to be living and sentient and have consciousness, they seem to be stirring and becoming a little bit stronger since 2010. Whether that was a build up to 2012, I don't know fully. So these signals that come out of the ground, they are literally the kind of language of Gaia. And the signals can be harmonious to us in some respect, and some of the signals can be disharmonious to us. So it's about understanding the signals of the earth and trying to live in harmony with that. At Avebury, for example, there's a lot of frequencies that will put your brain into a very relaxed mode. For instance, it will take it to an alpha mode. So you'll feel calm around those types of places. But then when you go to other monuments in the Avebury environment, which is called the Sanctuary, which is on top of Overton Hill, which was once a mighty monument. Not a lot exists of it today because it was destroyed around 1724. But if you go to the exact center of that monument, then there's a big release of gamma radiation. And if you take a Geiger counter just outside of where the stone circle was, it drops back to normal. So what's going on there? Why are these radiation levels? It's a way, I think, that our ancient ancestors could have harnessed maybe some form of free energy.
Yes, so that's pretty incredible if they could, and it's a science that we do not understand absolutely. Yeah, well, that were these was there Atlantean wisdom that's sort of edged into all these megalithic sites that we're discussing today?
Well, it's interesting when you go to the west coast of Ireland, for example, around Sligo and that area, you have much older monuments than Avebury and Stonehenge. So if there was a lost continent in the Atlantic Ocean and they were seafaring peoples, which in all probability they were, then they could have hit the Irish coast and built monuments there first because they are much, much older than here in England around the Stonehenge area. So I think there could have been a connection to Atlantis, that is for sure. And I also think that the Atlantean city, the metropolis there, as Plato called it, was probably built on different types of earth energy patterns there that are very large and circular, because they had a round city surrounded by water. Water was a feature there. And right at the center of the Atlantean city was a shrine dedicated to Neptune. And if we look at the pattern of the Atlantean city and you project the earth energy patterns, it's no different than to Stonehenge or where Glastonbury Round Church was first erected. They have the same types of energy patterns. So indeed, it could come from Atlantis.
okay, and you mentioned the water there as well, and you know we were talking off air about just exploring different subjects, and one of them I believe you mentioned was sentient water.
Well, I think that, I've mentioned on the radio before that you have an energy pattern called a geospiral. But from that geospiral, when water's under pressure, it will create sometimes rivers or streams of underground water. And where this is underground yin water that is born within the womb of Gaia and it starts to flow in a stream, it's what's called an aquastat. I mean, the Master Dowser Guy Underwood called the term aquastat, but he didn't know what it was and he didn't fully understand that. And it was about sort of 8 or so years ago that I realized what he was found but didn't understand was this very fast flowing underground deep water, and it is sentient. By that I mean, it's alive and it's living, and I think it has consciousness. Now, when we look to what homeopaths say about water, that it has memory, this type of water, I think, has a very, very ancient memory. And I also think it has memory for the future as well. I think, our relationship with water, we just think, there it is. It's stuff that we drink. And we know about the underground water table. But if you go much, much deeper than the water table, you have this living water. And wherever that flows in these aquastat streams, that is very, very sacred space. And when the two types of water, so you've got water born deep in the earth flowing in a stream, and you've got rainwater that has been falling from the sky and is collected in an underground stream, where those two streams meet, they are called holy lines because that's yin and yang water, and that's especially revered by the ancient ancestors. You go to somewhere like Stonehenge, you have a myriad of holy lines. And then if we look to other type of energy lines like the track line, which animals follow, because they're all old English roads and roads around Europe were first trodden out by animals, and then humans followed them. And these track lines, what we've noticed on them through anecdotal evidence and other evidence, is that they can help to, enhance your muscles, so that animals that travel on them for long periods of time, like in migration, they don't tire that much. And if we go on these old energy lines, we don't tire that much either. So, there really is something about the living earth force that we can work with and try to understand on a deeper level.
Yeah, crikey, yeah, absolutely. There's almost like healing then in that water.
It's a healing energy field that it emits that I think our ancient ancestors were more concerned about, because it emits an electromagnetic field, and that electromagnetic field can interact with our own types of body waters and fluids. And if you interact with this in a conscious manner, then you can even get it to cleanse your own body water, because I think that we're more than just our minds, and like I said earlier, water has memory, and that's in our bodies as well. So if we cleanse the memory field of our body water within these electromagnetic fields of the underground waters of the earth, especially fast flowing rivers that have an energy line of 12 lines. It's a really kind of like wide stream with 12 dowsable lines. And that's the type of energy that you can go to and, interact with it and cleanse your own body water.
Yeah.
I mean, this is high, it's a new method of healing, I feel, that should be researched more.
Absolutely. And again, where do they get that knowledge from? Who passed them that knowledge on? We just don't know, do we? How did they know that? Incredible. It all points towards a highly evolved civilization. To me, it does. Back in a time which is obviously been some sort of mass amnesia has taken place, and we are unaware of how advanced they were and who they were. They were us. I know that, but just
I think the average person is, and people like ourselves, but the real knowledge did get continually handed down from the Neolithic to the Druidic masters, and then to the Knights Templar and the Masons.
Well, okay then, because you have researched into temple code as well, haven't you? Masonic code.
Yeah, so I think, the wisdom of the earth and the knowledge of the earth energies has, been kept a secret by certain organizations for a long period of time. Even the Victorian mystery schools, like the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, they were very, very familiar with, earth energies and how they could heal and how they could cleanse. So it was almost like the knowledge was kept to the chosen few. If you look to how Masonic lodges are laid out, they are laid out on those aquastatic lines. They are not laid out on normal energy lines. They're above the living, sentient earth.
Why would they not want to share that?
Why wouldn't they want to share that? I think it's really about knowledge can be a powerful thing. And I feel that they have kept their mysteries a secret because they don't want the average person to be empowered. They don't want the average person to understand that if they connect to the earth, literally just by grounding yourself properly every day, then it will change your whole outset. And once you have an outset that is different from the group mindset, and the group mindset, that isn't concerned about EastEnders and watching TV and be easily programmed, then you have a different type of society, and I think that's what certain people don't want.
And how could we? And what's the process of grounding yourself per day to be able to come from that different space? Is that through meditation, or are we talking about a different? Do you not? Yeah, explain to us.
What you can do is to reconnect to the earth is literally take any synthetic footwear off and any synthetic socks off. Go outside and literally ground yourself by putting your feet firmly on the ground, making that kind of mental and emotional connection to the earth, and feel the energy beneath your feet. Become conscious of the earth beneath your feet. And what some people experience is almost like a tingling sensation or a feeling of warmth. And that is kind of like the first link to reconnecting to Gaia. And then you can breathe in that energy in the breathing process, breathe it up through the legs, through the chakra system, out of the top of the crown chakra and back into the physical body and back into the earth. And that is the connection process. When we were first born, and this was a theory developed by a Canadian called Francis Nixon. When we were first born, just before that, in the womb of our mothers, round about the time that we were about to be born, it's believed that all living organisms create a magnetic field. Yeah, because as you've been growing in the womb, you're tuning to all the magnetism of the rocks in the area, and you create a certain magnetic code. And just before birth, it's believed that these living organisms, like humans and animals alike, they draw in this magnetic field, and it's called the Viv Axis principle. And that's a whole magnetic connection, like an umbilical cord that goes from you to the earth, and that's at your place of birth. And wherever you move around the world, it's believed that your Viv Axis still stays in the same place. And Frances Nixon proved with all of her work, with working with earth energies and the Viv Axis principle, that if you keep that umbilical cord, that link to Mother Earth, clear and vibrant, your health is maintained, your mental health is good. So it's about our own magnetic fields that is connected to our auric space and to the earth. We're not just our aura. We have this unique umbilical cord to Gaia.
Interesting, very, very interesting. Okay, and again, all this is in your books as well, and much more, much more. I mean, we're barely scratching the surface here, like I always say to my guests, because we just it's just there's just so much to talk about, and these subjects can be very in depth. Well, okay, and just going back to Stonehenge then, as one of the ones that always stands out to me in the UK, what do you think its purpose was then?
I think Stonehenge is a multi-faceted monument. I think it was used for many things over different periods of time. I think in its heyday, which is the Bronze Age, around about 2500 BC, I personally think it was a healing temple. I think it was a healing temple because all of the kind of, we're talking about electromagnetic energies then with our Viv Axis. I think the electromagnetic field in there is very, very harmonious. Now, if you look to the Bronze Age round barrows that surround Stonehenge, and only a few exist today, at one time, Kevin, there was over 800 round barrows surrounding Stonehenge, all gleaming chalk white. Some of the skulls from the round barrows showed that there had been brain surgery taking place because some of them were trepanned.
Okay, what skulls are we talking about? We're talking about the elongated skulls of Stonehenge.
Not elongated skulls, these are just normal round skulls of like more of a European skull type. But they had shown signs of being operated upon. And archaeologists would say, oh, it was all shamanic. It was because somebody was epileptic or, and they had to drill a hole in somebody's head, or it was to relieve pressure of the head. But it was reevaluated by a Devizes curator, and Devizes is a local town not that far from Stonehenge, which has a museum. And it was thought that that was to help remove brain tumours. So it seems like our ancient ancestors were fully aware of different medical conditions. And then you get archaeologists saying, oh, it must have been so painful having your skull, having a hole drilled out of your skull with a piece of flint. Well, no, because if you go back even 2,000 years before that, it was found in a Spanish long barrow that there was very neat capsules of opium, which was probably used for pain control, like opiates are used for pain control today. So I think our ancient ancestors were very, very sophisticated and had advanced medical knowledge.
Again, where did that come from? That we were supposed to have had a linear progression here, not had a high society, then dipping back to the dark ages of nothing, and then coming back up again. That's not what we're told. But obviously, as we know, there's different possibilities here, and that there's a lot of evidence. As you're a kind of evidence based yourself, you like that stance, and I appreciate that side of you. That there is, like you say, with the brain tumors, and with the skulls as well, with the evidence of brain surgery, which just shouldn't be there. Amazing. So you think it was a healing temple? Well, that's pretty incredible. Yeah, that's pretty incredible. And it was only recently, wasn't it? I think when they found a new part of Stonehenge, wasn't there? Some sort of new discovery that was made recently.
Yes, the Durrington Walls, a kind of very large stone setting, maybe even up to sort of like 90 or so stones, was found at a place called Durrington Walls. So that expands the Stonehenge environ. And it just goes to show as well that they were changing their monuments, because they took the stones down and possibly buried them and put a henge, which is a ditch and a bank, on top of that. So they almost like decommissioned that monument. I'd just like to go back, talking about healing, about one very anomalous find. It was found a couple of 100 years ago in the Victorian era in a cave in France. And they were found the old surface level, which is the holy grail to archaeologists because it means it's not contaminated, it's fresh, whatever there can be helped to date it. And they found a human bone that had been operated on and diseased tissue removed. They looked to the bone next to it, and it was an extinct mammoth. So if you're talking about kind of, the lineage line of what we're told, then they were performing surgery in, thousands of years ago. And that was dated to around 14,000 BC. That one piece of bone.
Yeah, it's incredible, isn't it? It's absolutely incredible, and it points to a lot of it opens up new truth, doesn't it? In a sense, it definitely makes you think outside the box of what is or what was possible. Well, there is always a lot of obviously, near these sacred sites, there's lots of ley lines, and always associated is these strange metal objects or these UFOs. That's come into your research as well, hasn't it?
Well, yes. I mean, it was the UFO hunters from America that I took around Stonehenge once, and they always pointed out wherever you have a military establishment, you have an ancient site, and you have a vortex, and you have UFO sightings. It's a bit like a recipe book. And you have that just at Stonehenge as well. There's been lots of UFO sightings, and probably sightings of back-engineered craft as well, flying in unison with military helicopters. And the Salisbury plain, I think, is a hub of UFO activity. Strange time slips have occurred around Stonehenge. And just recently, there was a report of an orange object followed a car, and it was really making the radio crackle in a place called Uphaven on the edge of the Salisbury Plain. And the person thought the car was going to stop, but fortuitously it kept on driving. And these orange balls of light that are seen quite a lot around Stonehenge at this moment in time don't seem to care who sees them anymore. It's not like they're kind of going around stealth. They're being very overt and saying, we're here and we're buzzing your car.
Yeah, and you think that these may be interdimensional because near these sacred sites, it's almost like that, as you say, some sort of vortex is able to be opened because of the energy that's created there.
It could. That's right. It could be an energy portal. It could be, like an Earth gate. It could be a Stargate. Theories abound, but one thing that is known is the rate of the UFOs by sheer number alone and sightings in the past 2 years has increased around the Stonehenge area. It's gone up a gear.
And why do you think that is?
To be honest, I'm not too sure why it is. I just I've heard people's witness accounts of what they're seeing in relation to that, and a lot of people have seen around crop circles, whether they're man-made or they're genuine. It doesn't seem to matter because there was a Norwegian researcher, and what he found was he just put time-lapse photography on it and just thought, I'll go home and I'll study the footage, which he did. And he found that there are always these silver objects that move so fast, unless you slow the footage down, the time-lapse footage down, you can hardly see them. But there are these like spherical silver balls that seem to be going from the crop, going right the way up to the sky, which he felt were going up to a UFO. And at the same time, you have these darker objects, like a more kind of dark grey colour, descending from the sky into the crop. And you can see that on his time-lapse footage. So it seems like Wessex with the crop circle phenomenon, with the UFOs and with the ancient site, is a real hub of activity.
I mean, you can't get near the stones now at Stonehenge. That's all been, I mean, that's been blocked off for a while, hasn't it? Where you can't touch them. I mean, I don't know how long that's been like that. I went there a couple of years ago, and you can only see it from a distance.
You can get private access if you go onto the English Heritage website and book in private access so that you can go to the centre. But in 2010, they stopped even on private access, and that would be, out of public hours. So you'd go there early in the morning, or you'd go there in the evening when the general public have all gone home. And around about 2010, the stones really did come into their power. And that's from that moment on, I believe, they didn't want you to touch the stones. And even on private access, you cannot touch the stones. Because if you do touch the stones, and not that I encourage people on my tours to do that, she says with a smile, but if somebody took it upon themselves to do that, then they do feel a surge of energy pumping through them. I took a security guard to show him one stone at Stonehenge because his hands were really cold. And there's one particular stone. It looks like it's got a spine, literally like a human spine going down it. It's a recumbent stone, so it's lying on its side. And he said, I said, you can warm your hands up here. And he kind of laughed and took I said, take your glove off and put your hand down the ridge of that stone, and you feel heat emanating from it. So it's a very, very powerful place. And I think because it's a powerful place, because it can change you, it can connect you to the earth and the cosmos simultaneously in a kind of huge energy field. I don't think people that own Stonehenge and run Stonehenge want people to experience that for whatever reasons.
Well, didn't you touch the stone and you had a sort of a download? You sort of opened up your third eye, didn't you?
Yes, I leant against what's called the Greater Trilithon, which is the largest stone at Stonehenge. It's over 25 feet tall, and when it had its partner and a lintel on top, it weighed over 90 tons. And yes, you put your chakra system against the stones, and bang, you will get information or a download.
90 tons. That's not a lot, is it?
No.
Yeah. Oh, wow. It's just incredible, isn't it? 90 tons.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, you just, it's it's pretty special. Yes. Okay. Well. How did you then? Because obviously you've done a book as well devoted to the elongated skull of Stonehenge. Now, how did you find the elongated skull of Stonehenge? What is it? And what have you discovered?
Well, how I found them was using a dowsing technique, which is mentioned in the Essential Dowsing Guide, actually, and most people use it just to find things on maps. It's called the 2-point fix. And I decided to spiritualize that. And I thought, well, instead of finding, whatever it is you want to find, what if I asked the ancestors and the earth to show me what I needed to find? So I used the 2-point fix, and I kept coming up with the same place around Salisbury Plain. I'd met a woman called Catherine Gaze. She does singing bowls and gongs. She's a very beautiful spiritual woman. And I was talking to her about this massive long barrow on Salisbury Plain. It was the largest one, which is very unusual. It's so big. And she suggested that was somebody that had, passed over there. And I decided to do a regression. I get a friend to do a regression on myself. And I came out with that it could have been a queen of Stonehenge. So it was kind of a mixture of dowsing and regression to try and understand what this person was, this woman was. And she was probably a high-ranking Neolithic queen with an elongated skull. So I really do feel that if we could use the esoteric sciences to make new finds like this, we would literally find out a lot more about our ancient past through using these techniques. But of course, scientists and archaeologists find dowsing okay, but if you start mentioning something like past life regression to try and tap into the wisdom of the past, and pick an akashic record out of the akashic library, they'll think you're absolutely mad. But we all have these memory fields, and we can tap into this knowledge. And I think past life regression is a key that can reveal not just your past life or my past life, but the past lives and the history, the untold history of our world.
Yeah, absolutely, and you've got other methods as well. There's other methods to bring lost information through as well. Even channeling brings lost information through.
Yes.
Yeah. But just going back to the elongated skull, I must have missed a bit. Where was this found?
Well, the elongated skull was found in the largest long barrow on Salisbury Plain. It is absolutely huge. It's about 390 feet long. It's in quite a good pristine condition. It's in a no-go zone of the Salisbury Plain. Sometimes you can have access there, but sometimes when it's what's called the red flag flying, you can't go onto the Salisbury Plain because there's military, operations. So then they use live ammo, so you don't want to go past a red flag on the Salisbury Plain. And that's where it was found in Victorian times by two Victorian antiquarians, early archaeologists. And then the skull made its way to one of the top universities in the country. So I tracked her down and went to see and photograph her in the university, and her skull is very, very different.
Well, and going back to what you were saying, okay, so if there's UFO activity over there now, then who's to say there wasn't UFO activity in the past? Who's to say some sort of contact or interbreeding didn't take place? Where has this elongated skull come from? That's what I'm trying to get to. It seems very unhuman.
Yes, I mean, unless you have DNA analysis from one of these skulls, you will never be able to answer that fully. And unfortunately, on that skull, it was contaminated because since it was found a few hundred years ago, it's had people handling it. So that can contaminate any, residing DNA. But what is needed is, these skulls, ones that are intact, to go through some type of analysis that would answer the question whether it is human or whether it is some kind of hybrid.
What's your theory?
I would always go where the evidence takes me, so I'm on the fence. I don't know either way. I think that when I saw it looked very human. The skull, it was longer than ours, and it looked a bit different, but I don't know. No. There was a really, really unusual find in the Stonehenge environs, and would like to track this skull down because it was described as being a very unusual shape with one eye socket on the top of the head.
Wow. Okay, yeah, that's definitely quite alien, isn't it? In a sense.
Well, that is very, very, very unusual, and it shocked the early antiquarians that dug into that mound and found it. They were shocked. They thought it was an animal, but they thought, no, it can't be an animal because it has arms and it has legs and it has ribs, etc. So yeah, it stunned them in the tracks.
Yeah, I bet it did. That's a fascinating. I did not know that at all. Okay, well that's yeah. I mean, that's something to maybe for someone else to take up and look into. it's an interesting, it's so interesting, the various topics that you've covered. What have you actually discovered? I mean, okay, so you've made the discovery with the elongated skull through past life regression. What else? I mean, do you give past life regression readings to people?
Yes, I do. I do past life regression, and I teach past life regression to certificate level with the Avebury School of Esoteric Studies and
Right.
esotericcollege.com, and soon to be taught at the Goddess University. So yeah, I teach it. I think regression can answer questions. I really do feel it's such a valuable tool, and that historians should use it to tap into the ancient past. So yeah, so I teach that, and I teach dowsing as well,
Yep.
with the schools, and the ancient art of the tarot cards as well.
Okay.
And I also teach soul star astrology, which I was at an ancient site near Stonehenge called the Codford Circle, which is a huge earthen ditch and bank, and it probably had standing stones in it, and that will be found one day. So it's a stone circle close to Stonehenge, and I was in that stone circle, and I got a download about a particular type of astrology that could answer questions about past lives. I tested it out on a lot of people, including Dolores Cannon's PR lady, Stephanie Bell. And I got exactly what Dolores got through Regressing Stephanie. I got through Soul Star Astrology, and some other people that had regression by that method as well. So I think there's lots of ways we can get to past lives. We can use either astrology, or we can actually use ourselves to be hypnotized into a deep, relaxed state to access information.
And wasn't incredible with Dolores as well was that, and maybe you found this in your work, I don't know, but it was incredible where, she would, okay, so it would start with past life regression, and through that process of taking them to a past life, she was able then to tap into consciousness, in a sense, to the God source, in one could call it, or the all knowing energy that's with answers to anything, really. And I think I think that really comes to the understanding that we are, when we connect with our higher selves, this is my understanding right now, when we connect to our higher selves, we have that access to that knowledge because everything is one. We are God. We are everything. We are source. And when you connect back to that, you can connect to these separate, well, they seem like separate parts, but maybe it is us. When someone has a conversation with God, in a sense, they're having a conversation with themselves because it's one of the same. I don't know what's your direction taking you in that respect with past life regression.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, most regression therapists do that. You do try to tap into that divine spark, that is the God force or the universal force, call it what you will, and it is the all knowing and all truth as well. And pure and understanding and forgiving and has wisdom. It's like the soul wisdom within, and tap into that as the resource with past life regression. And that's what I mean. You have the answers to some of our past, and because time isn't linear, it's more circular, you can tap into the future as well, and hopefully combine the past with the future and unify the two.
Yeah, and bring it, and again, unifying the two to bring it back into present moment, to make it bring hidden knowledge, not just hidden knowledge, but teaching information through as well.
Yes, and that's where I think past life regression can come into its own.
Oh, well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's the doorway to something much greater, and I think Dolores was a pioneer in that, and I'm starting to understand it now. because it's starting to make a bit more sense. But you can only go down that space when you're ready to, and when you consciously have evolved enough to see things in that different perspective, which you have. And it's interesting, going from dowsing to doing all the other bits that you've done. Would you ever have seen yourself going from what Dad's work was to the expansion that you've taken on now?
Well, I always questioned things, you see, Kevin. I always wanted the answers. And so I would study something to try and get to an answer. I mean, like what we all still are trying to figure out now, why were these stone monuments created? And so I would go down different avenues to try and have a look at the answers, like astrology, to understand the stars above them, the terrestrial currents below them, who were the people with the past life regression. And I think, it's good to keep on learning. It's good to keep on questioning. And that's what keeps me going, because I want to find out more of the answers. I want to find out who these global people were that were all unified as one people in about 2500 BC. They seem to be working together all over the world to build these monuments at one moment in time. They obviously had a much wider picture and a wider understanding. And I feel if we could tap into that through soul speak or through dowsing or through channeling or through any form of even quiet meditation, then we can access that information bank.
It's so true what you say. These all happen around the same time, these wonderful monuments. It's so true what you say. And why was that? What did they know? And what were they trying to do? I know we've tried to talk about some of these subjects, but it's still incredible to still ask those questions. And how have other people in this same field, in this alternative field, how do people accept your work when you bring in, talking about megalithic sites and the experiences that you've got, and having Dad just as time served to take you down that initial path? How do other people approach you nowadays or see you when you start talking and integrating past life aspects of it?
Sorry, Kevin, you cut out just then. Could you repeat that, please?
Sure. Sorry. I'll just ask that again. Yeah. Obviously, there's other people in this field as well. There's other lecturers. There's other researchers in the same field. Non-academic. I'm talking about the people that looking from the alternative field. How do they accept your work when you bring in the aspects of the spiritual aspects that you do, like the past life regression and other aspects like astrology into that? Do some align with you, or do they not? Or are they very ego based, where they say, well, no, I'm not going down that road. I'm sticking with the facts.
I think some people do say, I'm sticking with the facts, but I think, more and more people are becoming open-minded. And if you can, back something up with some type of evidence, then the evidence speaks for itself, and that's what to me speaks volumes. And I think the more people that study one subject, the more diversity that you have. And I think that's what's needed into looking into ancient sites, having a different cultural perspective, because the cultural perspective of ancient sites at the moment is predominantly white people talking about their monuments. We need a lot more diversity from different cultural understandings to get to the truth as well, rather than having one type of explanation. And that's where I think it's about coming together with the internet, with radio shows like this, to try and understand the past.
And I really respect you for what you're doing and integrating these other aspects into it. I think that's very, very, very cool. It's very, very alternative, and it's very needed, because one way isn't all. One way is not all the only truth. There are other ways to get there as well, and I really respect you for what you're doing. Okay, if you could just give us your website as well.
Yeah, sure. It's www.theaveburyexperience.co.uk, and that's Avebury, Avebury Experience. And have a look at the workshops I've got coming up, which are dowsing lots of different sites, some healing workshops, throughout the summer. We'll be going to the mound of the Neolithic Queen of Salisbury Plain as well, of the elongated skull. So yeah, check out the dowsing workshops and check out my esoteric school if you're interested in studying with me.
And there'll be new updates on there for when you progress and get to your own school up and running as well.
My school's up and running already, which is on the Avebury experience. It's called the Avebury School of Esoteric Studies, which is fully affiliated to the Association of British Correspondence Colleges. And my new online college, esotericcollege.com, is up and is being added to all of the time.
Excellent. Okay. Now, if someone wants to get a past life regression with you, I've come across a number of people now who are doing that over Skype as well. Is that do people have to be in your presence to do that, or can they do it remotely?
I prefer somebody to be in my presence than over Skype. So I'm a bit old school like that.
That's okay. Yeah. No. Okay. So yes, but okay. So if someone was prepared to travel to you, you would that can be booked through the website as well.
Absolutely, and I do soul star astrology readings that are really, really good. I mean, for example, there was a student of Dolores Cannon. She had regressed a lady from Bulgaria, and then she said to me, "Maria, would you do my soul star?" And they were identical. In fact, the soul star gave even further information. So sometimes it's about either having astrology, a regression, or combination of both to get even more information.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you just said, they both complement each other as well. It's not, one's better than the other. It's one sees some aspects and the rest, and one sees some aspects and a different angle as well. So it's incredible, that, isn't it? It's all in the astrology.
Yeah, and also I'm involved in a project called Megalithic Odyssey, megalithicodyssey.com, where we're going around all the European sites, from Malta to Sardinia to Corsica, and we're trying to investigate the acoustics, the earth energies, the astronomy. So it's going to be a really big show and over 8 series. With the top experts looking at these ancient sites, myself included on the show. So yeah, keep looking for megalithicodyssey.com.
Excellent. Will do. Right. Okay. Well, I just want to say thank you so much for joining us today. It's been a complete pleasure.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Well, we've come to an end on tonight's show. Don't forget that you can listen and watch all our past interviews on the More Show's official YouTube channel. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel for new daily shows. You may also find out more on our past and upcoming guests on the show via themoreshow.co.uk, and do like us on Facebook and Twitter for the latest updates. So until next time, be safe.